disclaimer that this video is based on theoretical attachment styles. More and more so recently, I'm finding a lot of my friends are finding it difficult to get into dating. And as I get a little bit older, and we all get a little bit older and towards the milestone ages, there could be a natural tendency to start panicking a little bit and thinking, oh my god, I'm going to die alone. So I thought I'd shed some light on the theory of attachment styles, which there are 4 of. First attachment style is what we call anxious. So these people are highly sensitive to criticism, so they will probably fly off the handle whenever you say one little thing. And part of a relationship is actually being critical of each other, telling the other person when they've overstepped a boundary, whether they're making a fool of themselves. It's not a abusive or a negative thing. It's what a partner should be doing, and that's kind of what we have to do for each other. If you imagine you're really making a fool of yourself, or you're saying something completely wrong in any situation, you wouldn't want everyone to just sit around and just watch you when they all know you're wrong, or you're making a fool of yourself, you've completely got misinformation. You would really rather someone say to you, hey, let me just pull you aside for a second, just think about what you're saying. I'm not going to let you fall into a rabbit hole of delusion. So anxious people have a clingy or a jealous kind of tendency, where they continuously need approval from others, and they find it very difficult to be alone by themselves because they find it uncomfortable. Unfortunately, these people are very low in confidence or self-esteem, and they don't think they actually deserve to have love and have someone look after them and care for them, and they don't think they are enough. The problem with that is that when potentially they do meet someone, they have an intense fear of rejection because they don't think they are ready for it yet. They may have a tendency to really want to constantly improve themselves, which is okay in moderation, but it doesn't mean that you should just disappear from the world and never speak to anyone because you're not worthy. These people are quite difficult to hold down a relationship with because of that fear. They can't be alone, they can't self-reflect, they are very unstable in terms of emotions. So one little thing can cause an early relationship in particular to just implode because there's so much tension and everyone overreacts to things. So attachment style 2 is avoidant. And it's called avoidant because they actually avoid intimacy and they can't express their feelings very easily. They have a hard time communicating. These people do have a strong sense of independence, but when you talk about a relationship, it's not just one person. Therefore, that's not necessarily a great trait in this kind of scenario where we're talking about they're so independent that they actually don't want to consult with anyone, they don't want to work as a partnership, and that is kind of what a relationship is. And that is due to them having a harder time trusting people, which unfortunately, when you open yourself up for a relationship, you have to trust and you have to let go of your defenses, because otherwise the other person's never going to get to know you, they're never going to get to know your fears and your loves, so you're potentially suffocating that bond before it even has a chance to develop, as that fear of intimacy and actually sharing their feelings and being vulnerable just gets so overwhelming that they just go, I can't do this anymore, I need to call it a day, making these kind of people very hard to have a relationship with. Not impossible, but more difficult for these reasons. Attachment style 3 is what we would call disorganized, and that disorganization refers more to their emotional needs. These people potentially don't really know what they want yet. They may be just fresh out of a relationship, they may not quite understand themselves yet, they may be dealing with a lot of things, they may be pursuing a career, it could be a timing issue, it could be I need to sort something out, but either way these kind of lead to contradictory behaviors, which is where people go hot and cold. You think everything's lovely one day and then all of a sudden they act like they don't really know you or you're not that important. This comes from higher levels of anxiety, and again it kind of combines with the avoidant and anxious, is that fear of opening up, that fear of trusting others, which unfortunately for these people is just how a relationship is. You have to open up, you have to be vulnerable if you want something very significant, because if the person doesn't know you and all the time you've got your barriers up, they're never going to get to know your loves, your likes, your dislikes, your fears. And most humans are very social creatures, and having a partner is part of that experience of life where you effectively have a teammate that's there to support you, because there are always ups and downs. No one has a perfect life, no matter what you see on Instagram or any kind of media, and that lack of trust just ends up imploding relationships. Then we come on to the fourth attachment style, which is called secure. And the reason they are called secure is because they can regulate their emotions easily. They can trust others easily. They can open up, share their thoughts, share their dreams and goals, and then the other person acts as an actual partner because they know what that person needs. They know what their emotional needs are. They know what their life goal needs are. They know when they've had a good day, they've had a bad day. And that is combined with the ability of a secure styled person to open up with their emotions because they can trust. And because they can trust people and they can trust their potential partner, they're able to communicate effectively. It's always about communication. Part of communication is being able to seek emotional support when you need it. Every now and then you need emotional support. Whether you're generally happy and quite stress-free in your life, there will always be a time when stress comes in. There are adversities that you never thought would even appear. Everyone faces grief, everyone faces death, and it's in these moments that you need that emotional support, which is why these relationships work, because they support each other. They're secure because they can seek when they need help, and they can work as a team. If there's ever any adversity within the relationship, they're able to actually self-reflect. They can look at their actions, whether they've flown off the handle and accidentally said something in emotional rage. They're okay with being alone for a little while and thinking about their actions, stepping out the heat of the moment and going into another room potentially, looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, all right, I was an arsehole. They then have the emotional maturity to go to the partner and say, hey, you know what, I'm really sorry. And they know that sorry will actually go somewhere and that will actually be received without that fear of being ridiculed or made fun of because of your mistakes. Because no one is perfect. We all act up emotionally on occasion, because at the end of the day, we're all human and we all do make mistakes. And when you've got another secure partner who is actually able to say, okay, yeah, that's fine, no worries about it, like we won't do that again, then you move on with your life and then you go back to being a team. And this is where things get a little bit interesting in my opinion, because you'll find that a lot of the dating pool is not filled with secure attachment style people. So what does that mean? That means that unfortunately most of the dating pool is filled with people who are avoidant, anxious, or disorganized. Therefore, the likelihood that you will actually meet someone who is secure is much lower, because they're normally in stable long-term relationships because they're able to hold them down. Whereas the dating pool, lots of apps, social media, etc., is filled with people who are not really the ideal type, because maybe they need to work on themselves. None of this is necessarily a permanent style. You can work on yourself, you can improve things. This is not a criticism of any one type of person. We've all got things that we can work on. But more and more so, I think we need to be aware that these kind of attachment styles potentially exist, because it's all too easy to look at everyone else on social media and then you see, oh, your 10 buddies have all got relationships and now they're having kids and they've got houses and they've got families and everything's so lovely. It's very easy to kind of recluse into your shell and say, oh my God, there's something wrong with me then. But no, you're not ugly. You're not useless. You may have things to work on, that's fine. Maybe it might just be confidence. It might just be that initial fear of starting, the fear of rejection, the fear of just going up to someone and saying, hey, you know, can I just get your number? Just because you've been rejected in the past, it doesn't actually mean that there's necessarily anything wrong with you at all. It's very easy to just look at yourself and say, oh, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me. I need to change everything before I can even go and approach someone. Because unfortunately, the statistics are against dating people, as the pool is not filled with many secure people. So remember to be kind to yourself. Don't think that there's something terribly wrong with you just because you faced a rejection or someone ghosted you. They're probably just anxious or avoidant and they're afraid of that intimacy. They're afraid of the rejection themselves. They don't want to open up about their feelings. They don't trust you because they don't trust anyone. You will find someone that you match with. Just be kind to yourself and be patient.